1971, and South Korea even as early as 1960s, they already have this household income survey, and so they are all national representative sample, but it's not longitudinal, meaning they sample different households every year, depends on how to draw the sample, and so when we put all the sample together, it's called pool cross-sectional data. It's every year is cross-sectional data, and you pull them together, so it's not longitudinal data. So you could be looking at different households. And the catastrophic payment, quickly to go through the method, is that, so what we mean by catastrophic household proportion is that, so if you rank all these households by decreasing OOP share, so the dot over here would be the household incurring the highest out-of-pocket payment share. So if you have $100 as household expenditure, you spend $50 on health. If you are the highest, then you'll be here. And so we rank them by the decreasing OOP share. And then you set a threshold, which is 10% in my case, 10% as catastrophic. So the curve, this OP share curve and the threshold, the place where it intersects, this tells you this is the proportion of households exceeding this threshold. So you have a larger proportion of households exceeding, exceeding this threshold. That means a lot of households in your country, are in big trouble. Okay, and so this is what we use as the measurement, this catastrophic head count. And this is actually the gap, because some country can go like this. So the problem is not as deep, but they probably have higher proportion. You need to measure both. But in our study, we simply just look at the head count over here. So the method is called DID. So basically, you will have a control group and the experiment group, and also pre and post. And so in our case, the year they have national health insurance placed, that's the policy year. So we look at the change between pre-post, like how much change we have seen after they have the insurance system in place. And then we also compare control group and experiment group. So DID is a well-known econometric model to measure, so to assess a policy, because you see the policy difference. So you compare with yourself before the policy and after the policy, and then you also compare those who are affected by the policy and those who are not affected by the policy. So this is so-called this pre-post design, this control group. And the advantage of having a DID analysis is that this analysis actually will exclude the effects of this unknown factor, because there could be factors over there affect both pre and post. And so if by subtracting from the sort of the baseline, you can take away those sort of natural growth over the years, and then you will not bias your analysis. So the advantage of this methodology is to exclude the effects of unknown factors. Since you cannot even measure, but just subtract out your equation. Please note that the comparison we are making here, the policy year, of course, in South Korea is 1989, and in Taiwan is 1995. So we use 1 year pre the policy year, and then 6 years after the policy year. So what we are making a comparison is the year in relevance to their policy year. So they are not at the same year. The first year after policy year in South Korea will be 1990. But it will be 1996 for Taiwan. So this is all on a relative scale. So it's not in an absolute year comparison, because that wouldn't make sense. So what we choose as treatment group and what we choose as control group, the treatment group should be those that would be affected by national health insurance, meaning those are people who were not insured before national health insurance. If there is no national health insurance, they will not be covered anyway. So these are the group. These are the people who will be actually impacted mostly by the policy, which is national health insurance. So these are the group, we take it as the treatment group. And then the control group should be those who will not be impacted by national health insurance. And in this case, in both countries, we take those covered by government employee insurance for one reason. One is that this is the only scheme in both countries that actually expand the coverage to their dependents. So once you cover, you are the working household head. If you cover your parents, your dependent, your spouse, they are all covered under your scheme. So remember, this is a household survey. So this is as much as information we can get. So these are the group of people we use as control. even if there's no national health insurance, these people will still be covered fine. I mean, they will be, because they are government employee, and because someone in their household is working for the government, and they are covered, so everybody in the household will be covered by government employee insurance. So this is taken as the control group, and this is as the treatment group. So this is a logistic regression of, basically you have dummy for policy, dummy for treatment, whether in treatment group or control group, and then you have this interaction term. So econometrically, this will be the coefficient that you're looking at. Just trust me, what I just said. But if you have any question about, the idea, I'll be more than happy to answer your question after the presentation. So these are the data we have. So we have data for pre-NHI, and the year immediately after NHI policy, and then as update as 2013. So you can see the population size in South Korea is roughly like, almost like twice as, well, it is twice as much as Taiwan. If you look at GDP per capita, Taiwan, in the up till year 2000, Taiwan was much higher than South Korea, but now we are behind South Korea. And in terms of national health expenditure as a percentage of GDP, you will see that both countries are pretty similar now. It's almost close to 7%. As before, Taiwan spent a little bit more, and South Korea, when the economy was not that good, they spent roughly 3%. And if you look at the health indicator, in terms of infant mortality rate and in terms of life expectancy, before year 2000, Taiwan was doing better than South Korea, and now we are a little bit worse than South Korea. So, economy, is a big driving factor in terms of, even the general public health indicator. This is the financing mix. What it tells you is like, if there's $100 in, this country spend, how many, where does the money come from? So if we look at South Korea, the Social Security will be national health insurance, because this is by OECD definition, and this is sort of spending by the general government. As you can see that after you have national health insurance, normally the general government will reduce their share in this health care pie. But South Korea, for some reason, the government actually increased it. But Taiwan, you can see going from 15%, 10%, and now 5%. And this is really for government's general spending. Our national health insurance is 1/3 of the national health insurance revenue is actually from Taiwan government. So, by looking at this number, you say Taiwan government is not doing its share. It's not true. Actually, Taiwan government is paying a lot. 1/3 of this part is actually coming from Taiwan government, and not so much in South Korea. And what really need to pay attention to is this out-of-pocket payment. So South Korea started with 6%, like no risk pooling. At that time, actually, 40% of the population was covered by some sort of social health insurance. These days, it's still 35.2. OECD average is roughly 16%. And South Korea is actually, one of the OECD members. So relatively speaking, their out-of-pocket payment share is considered very high among OECD countries, especially in all these high-income economy. And if you look at Taiwan, it goes from 37, 27, now roughly 24%. And what really is taking the share out of the out-of-pocket share, other than social insurance. Social insurance actually, stay pretty much the same. Is this private health insurance in Taiwan? If people went to my previous talk, then you'll see that, because these days when you look at the progressivity, then you see more and more sort of middle-income people are taking up private health insurance, because national health insurance is so comprehensive, so cover everything, and so essentially, people don't have to save for rainy day. So it's an increase in real income. I mean, not the paper money, but the real income. So you feel richer because you don't have to save for rainy day. So where do people spend their money? They spend buying private health insurance here. So that's why you see 3%, 4%, and till now it's 15%, more and more. And actually, from the statistic industry, from the sort of private health insurance industry statistic, roughly every single Taiwanese will purchase 3.5 policies, so in terms of supplementary health insurance. So private health insurance industry is definitely having a field day. Because it's actually a rider under life insurance. So you have to buy life insurance before you can buy private supplementary health insurance. So they price it low so that it's give you incentive to buy, because you feel like, oh, it's so cheap, but you need to buy the life insurance, and they make big money on life insurance rather than supplementary health insurance. So that's the financing mix. Okay, so here is what we have. This is really still descriptive. So South Korea in comparison with Taiwan. And then you see this very sort of dramatic, contrasting distribution. So the first bar for each country is the poorest 20% of the households. And of course, the last one is the richest 20%. So first of all, what you see is South Korea. In South Korea, it shows a per rich distribution, meaning the rich people are paying more in terms of their OOP share. This is the OOP share. So the rich people are paying more. Look at the poor people, they only incur like roughly 4% of their total household expenditure on health, where the rich people is 6.2 or so. But in Taiwan, it's actually decreasing. So the poor people actually are paying more in terms of their household expenditure share. So it's 5% and then 3%. But on the average, you still see that South Korea has a higher OOP share in terms of household expenditure compared to Taiwan. But after we have national health insurance, what you can see is the gap actually narrows. So the gap in terms of OOP share between different economic strata actually narrow. And so in South Korea, the poor 20% household over the years, even with national health insurance, they don't actually decrease in terms of the OOP share. If you look at this one, this is the policy year, and it actually increased. And so you see very sort of different patterns in terms of their distribution of OOP share. And this one is just looking. This is the mean, and so this one is the bar is the catastrophic payment headcount. Meaning, for example, if you look at the high bar is South Korea. So in this part, this means pre-NHI, South Korea actually has more than 14% of their household incurring catastrophic healthcare payment. And even 6 years down the road after they have national health insurance, still pretty much 14%. Doesn't change. So what does the insurance do for them then? And then if you look at Taiwan and compare between South Korea and Taiwan, then you see this catastrophic headcount. Actually there's a big difference. So in Taiwan, it's only it's less than 8% before national health insurance. After we have national health insurance, it's like 5-4%. So it's pretty low in terms of the proportion of households incurring catastrophic health payment. And you can even see very substantial variation in terms of the level of financial risk protection. This is indicated by the distribution of catastrophic payment. So at the end of the day, we see this impact of NHI on reducing catastrophic headcount very obviously statistical significantly in Taiwan, but not in South Korea. So this paper, what this paper is out for, is really to try to examine the historical evolution of two health systems and try to disentangle the root cause. Why these two countries achieve universal health coverage in terms of population, but they diverge in terms of the level of financial protection provided to their citizens. And so we look at three aspects. One is this economic resources, and the second one, which is the one we are kind of stuck in, the political commitment. We are probably not using the right term. And then the third one is really the design of an insurance scheme. And so I'll quickly go through this. So for economic resources, I always emphasize the importance of economic resources because essentially it's the backbone. If you don't have that, no country can move forward towards universal health coverage. It all costs money. And 10 years before they started their national health insurance, both countries experienced booming economic growth. Taiwan miracle, that was in the 1980s. Not now, but we do